everybody. This is Alberto Kennedy, aka Grimoire, or Grimoire Coup. Um, I want to talk today about. I'm looking at my notes right now, and this is a good topic. And it was also a suggestion by one of my video YouTube viewers, Natalie C. Thank you, Natalie C. She asked about what's the negative side to empathic abilities, people who use these abilities in a negative way. Uh, well, that would fall under the lines of psychic vampirism. You heard me correct. Psychic vampires. They do exist. And I'm going to give you the information right now. It's a lot of information, so I'm going to go a little faster than usual. All right. Psychic vampirism. Psychic vampires are those who feed on psychic and psychokinetic energy. Also, this includes empathic vampires who feed on emotional energy. Remember, the psychic energy and emotional energy are very intertwined. And both of them combined is psychokinetic energy. So, all-inclusive term for vampires that are psychic vampires is psi-vampires, because that includes empathic as well as psychic. A psychic vampire can either be conscious or unconscious of the fact that they are psychic vampires. Um, they can feed off all manner of spiritual, emotional, psychic, psychokinetic, and subtle energies from people, places, and things. So it's not just specific to people. They can feed on anything. Because everything has a spiritual equivalent and a psychic and spiritual charge. Those that are consciously aware of these abilities are going to be that much more stronger because they know what they're doing and they are in control of their ability. The psychic vampires that are not in control of their abilities, they more often than not don't even know they are psychic vampires. I need to also stress that psychic vampirism is not everybody is a psychic vampire. Not all psychics, not all empaths are psychic vampires. This is a separate ability. Okay, it doesn't go hand in hand. Not everybody who has psychic ability is a psychic vampire. I want to stress that. We all know that one person who is a negative Nancy. She's kind of a Debbie, or they are a she or he, a Debbie Downer. They're only happy when it rains, and those people that piss on other people's picnics just for kicks. Those are unconscious forms of psychic vampirism. Uh, you may know a friend or family relative, a relative or a friend or someone that is so negative all the time, and you spend energy trying to talk to them, listen to them, help them coax them out of their depressions or out of their moods or whatnot, and all of a sudden they're fine, and you have absorbed. Well, you feel like you absorbed their negativity. No, it's the other way around. They've absorbed your positive energy, and you're depleted. You're down. You're drained. That's a form of unconscious psychic vampirism. When it is a conscious psychic vampire, they will feed off of everything you have: your life force, your positive energy, your health. They will just. I mean, the sky's the limit. They can feed off that, and you know when you're a victim of psychic vampirism, because you will be physically ill after every time you're around that person. You will feel like the flu just hit you in a matter of seconds. You will be drained, emotionally vulnerable. Um, um, your own inner turmoils and traumas that you have control over, you will lose control of. This is when you have been preyed upon. Okay. Interesting. I'm going to go here. I wrote this. I'm sure you guys are going to like this. Is how do you know if you're a psychic vampire? Because, like I said, some psychic vampires don't know that they are. Um, when you are around people and you need their attention. You need it. It goes even beyond a pathological need. It's like you need it to sustain your very being. You need attention. You need the focus to be on you at all times. That's a powerful indicator that you are an unconscious psychic vampire. Um, a negative psychic vampire is a sociopath by nature. And those are very dangerous because they know on some instinctual level that they're feeding on you or on others. And they can feed on people, places, and things. Um, these sociopathic psychic vampires, um, they fake emotions because they don't know how to feel. So they can't really respect yours or understand your emotions because they don't emote. So they will fake these emotions to blend. You don't want to scare your food source if you're a predator. So you learn how to blend. And that's what they do. Um, so that's why I'm saying most psychic vampires that are negative um, are sociopathic by nature. And they do not and cannot have the ability to transmute energy. That's something that they themselves probably don't know. Maybe they do. I don't care. I don't deal with those people. But they can't transmute. They don't know how they can't. The whole process of transmutation is purification, distillation, and sublimation of energy, of all matter of energy. Uh, a negative or sociopathic psychic vampire or empathic vampire can only corrupt, which is corruption is the opposite of transmutation. And so if they can't corrupt an energy source, they can't feed on that energy source. So they're repelled by it. Keep that in mind. There's always an out. Um, now the history of psychic vampires, where did it come from? I mean, where did this ability come from? Well, this is from my experience and my research and me communing with my entities that I work with. And I work with the angelic presence, I work with ancestors, and this is where I got my information from. So take it with a grain of salt. At best, it could be a different perspective. I'm not saying what I say is law. No, no. I'm saying this is what I believe. You may find something else. You may find out something else or find a different belief system that works for you. This is mine, and I'm going to share it with you. Psychic and empathic vampirism was introduced to the human condition by what some call gods, the fallen, fallen from heaven, heavens, or the stars. Heaven is a catch-all phrase for above, or the supernatural realm, super meaning outside of the natural realm or above the natural realm. Entities that are not human-based. And the Nephilim. The Nephilim in biblical terms were considered beings that were half angel and half human. Angel can be a higher being or any non-human, interdimensional or whatever. These beings were vampiric in nature. They were and still are blood drinkers, sin eaters, and life force takers that used those energies to nourish themselves. Our ancestors used to always do that human sacrifice thing. All ancestors. It's not specific to any ethnicity. All religions in the past has a bloody history, Um, and our ancestors sacrificed to these beings. And so many of the ancient gods were blood drinkers. They were sin eaters. Think about what sin is from a spiritual perspective. Sin is basically guilt energies, or energies that are released upon an action that society or religious perspectives view as wrong. And that has psychokinetic energy. Sin has psychokinetic energy, and so I'm not saying that I believe in sin. I'm just saying that I have a good handle on what's good and bad, and good actions and bad actions have psychokinetic energy. And what is considered sin has psychokinetic energy, and that's food to a Psy-Vampire or Psy-Vampiric entities. And so they were very well nourished from our ancestors, right? Now, I can't say all of the ancestors or the gods, let's just use the word gods, a catch-all phrase for all of them, all the entities, ancient entities that were psychic vampires. I can't say all of them were negatively charged because they weren't. There were, to be fair, some of the ancient deities were life force givers, life sustainers, and caretakers to our ancestors and teachers. Okay, so keep that in mind. Not all psychic vampires are evil. No, that's not how it works. You can't clump people in categories like that, good or evil, because it's subjective. And also, there are some entities that actually have an invested interest in our evolution as a species. So not all negative, not all psychic vampires are evil. Not all entities are higher entities, gods, angels, and all that good stuff. These beings, not all of them are negatively charged. Okay, so I have to say that out there so I don't throw my ancestors under the bus or something. Okay, and just keep that in mind because that's important. Um, Now, Psy-Vampire, let's see, let me just go into, but the negative ones, let me focus on that for the psychic vampires. The negative psychic vampires fed on our ancestors' faith, hopes, and fears, on their blood through human sacrifices, and through the psychic and spiritual energies we release constantly, because we're always releasing energies, you know. Our actions, non-actions, thoughts, emotions, words, these are all forms of energy that can be fed upon and affect the physical world. These beings um, and their offspring breeded with ancient humans. Their offspring and their descendants through countless generations retain this ability of psychic vampirism. Again, not all psychic vampires are sociopathic and actually use their abilities to help others. Psy vampires that are negative naturally corrupt people. Remember, the corruption is the opposite of transmutation. They naturally corrupt people, places, and things before they feed, while positive Psy vampires transmute. Transmutation of energy is key because it helps you while you're siphoning that energy, not to take in personality traits, bias, the essence of others. So you need to filter the energy you absorb or you siphon or that you feed on. And you can use psychic vampirism as a way to heal. For example, I'm a caregiver, and my mother has had many surgeries, abdominal issues and whatnot. I'm not going to go too much into detail about that. But what I do, on top of being a caregiver, doing the natural duties of a caregiver and whatnot, I also implement my ability. I absorb whatever pain, whatever discomfort, whatever issues, physical issues that she's going through. I take it into myself, and I transmute that energy, because energy is energy. It either has a positive or negative charge, but it doesn't change the fact that energy is energy. And you can transmute that charge. You can transmute negativity into positive energy. For example, if my mother's going through a great deal of pain and whatnot, what I'll do is I'll absorb that pain, because pain is just an energy, and I absorb it into myself, and then I transmute it into something else. If it's something that I'm having a hard time transmuting, then I absorb it, break it down, weaken it as much as I can, then expel it elsewhere. Into a receptacle, into a tree, into the earth, which is the earth, by the way, is a phenomenal recycling power source. It recycles all manner of energy. But that's how you work with psychic vampirism, or at least that's how I work with psychic vampirism. And there's other ways I work with psychic vampirism that I'm not willing to share at this time because no, it's my business. But it's all positive, and there are, like I said, there's positive psychic vampires out there. So to conclude, there are good and positive psychic vampires out there. Negative psychic vampires are sociopathic. And psychic vampirism is an ability that has been passed down through the generations to many people. Not everybody is a psychic vampire. And it finds its roots between the blending of certain deities or certain entities that were considered deities that mated or that connected with the human species. And that's what I believe. Again, I want to preface that because there's a lot of abilities that people have that are like, what the F? You know, this is phenomenal. That they keep under wraps. And psychic vampirism is one of them. There's psychic vampires that can do much more than what I've listed here that they can do, for good or ill. And I hope this clarifies it as best as possible. I try to bring it down a bit in terms of that everybody can understand. Psy vampires they can be apex predators because they'll feed on you psychically and emotionally, or they can be the most phenomenal and most powerful of healers because anything you throw at them, they can transmute. Their philosophy is, if you can't beat them, eat them. And let's see, I've explained that as much as possible, and also the lineage of psychic vampires. I also should conclude with this. There are spiritual entities that can feed psychically and emotionally. The demonic presence is notorious for feeding on people before they possess people. They are apex predators of a spiritual kind and psychic, because their attacks will always be spiritual, psychological, and emotional, and they feed on those levels as well, and they feed off the anguish that they cause, because they will never be able to feed on positive energy. They have to pervert or corrupt that energy before they absorb it. It's kind of like a food prep for psychic vampires. They negative psychic vampires. They have to corrupt that energy before they ingest or take it, consume it. And again, not all psychic vampires are negative. If you have any questions, please let me know. I hope this helped. I'm glad I got this out there for you guys. Like my page, subscribe to my channel. Let's all bring light to dark places. And for you psychic vampires out there, this one's for you. I know you're not all negative, and let's work on trying to change this world for the better. All right.